This little 1.25 kilo plate represents your painful knee. And this massive 25 kilo plate represents your healthy knee. And the problem most of you run into is you do your knee exercises or your physio exercises until you get somewhere in the middle, represented by this 5 kilo plate. So you get a little bit stronger, you have no pain, and therefore you quote unquote feel like you're ready to get back to that sport or activity that was causing you knee pain in the first place. Could be squatting, could be walking up the stairs. Feeling isn't really a good way to go about it. You need a benchmark or some tests to actually assess if you're strong enough and you're safe enough to get back to those things. So in this video, I'm going to give you 6 simple strength tests you can use to assess your knee strength, and these will take you about 5 or 10 minutes. So the first thing we're going to look at is your peak strength. So we've got 3 tests for this. Now, a quick note before we start. During these tests, I don't want you to be in agony with your knee. So imagine a pain score between 0 and 10. 10 is the max pain, like you're being hit by a bus. 0 is no pain. During all of these tests, I don't want your pain to be above a 3 out of 10. As soon as your pain starts to go above a 3, you stop the test there. So, first test is a single leg extension. So you're going to build to the max weight you can do for 5 reps. If I put a gun to your head, you couldn't do 6. And you're going to do this on each side. A gold standard for this is 0.8 times your body weight. So you can do the maths there. Body weight in kilos or pounds, doesn't matter. The gold standard on both sides is 0.8 times your body weight. Second exercise is going to be a single leg hamstring curl. Again, building to a 5 rep max. So the max weight you can do for 5 reps. The gold standard here is 0.4 times your body weight on each side. Then the final test is a single leg calf raise. Now for this one, we're going to build to a 1 rep max. The gold standard here is double body weight. The easiest way to load this is either using a Smith machine or a dip belt, so you can go heavy enough here. So there are all the tests for peak strength. Do those, have a little rest, and then we move on to capacity or muscular endurance. So the first test here is a single leg wall sit. Gold standard is 90 seconds on each leg. Ideally, you want to be as low as you can on the wall, but no lower than 90 degrees. So somewhere in between there is like a sweet spot. Number 2 is a single leg foam roller bridge. Few cues for this one because it's a bit more complex. Feet are going to go flat on the foam roller. Slight tuck of your pelvis, so your hips are lifted just about ½ inch off the floor. Hamstrings and calves are working really, really hard. And then you're going to lift one leg off, and the gold standard here is 45 seconds on each leg. And then we move on to the final test, which is the single leg calf raise. And the gold standard here is 30 reps on each side. So just to summarize again, for all of those 3 endurance or capacity tests, it is either max reps for the calf raise or it's a max time to hold for the single leg wall sit or the single leg foam roller bridge. So once you've done all those tests and you have some numbers, then the question is, Fred, what do I do with these numbers? Well, it's quite simple. So what I do with clients, they come in, I have a look at these numbers, and then we assess where they're weak. So for example, let's say someone couldn't hit 0.8 times body weight for the quad extension. Well then a big focus during rehab would be to improve quad strength, for example. It's that simple. If the hamstrings were weak on the single leg hamstring curl or the foam roller bridge, then again, peak strength for hamstrings and maybe endurance capacity for hamstrings is a weakness, so we could focus on that. So doing these tests actually allows you to assess where you're weak and the numbers you need to get back to where you want to be. The problem with most physios or people you go to, they just say, you know, get back to sport when you're quote unquote ready or when you feel ready. And this is very vague and it's not particularly safe or it's not a good thing to do. These benchmarks that I use with clients are based off significant amount of research with ACL rehab, knee rehab. So they make sure that you're strong enough to actually handle the loads that you need to and that you're less likely to re-injure your knee again and go around in that pain cycle where you do your exercises for a few weeks, re-injure your knee, and then you're back in that cycle of injury, re-injury, pain all over again. By the way, if you're interested in working with me one-to-one and fixing your knee pain properly based off these tests, just check out the links in the description down below. Take care and I'll see you in the next one.